long last, we're starting to see the Republican propaganda machine falling apart, because people are starting to expose the hypocrisy of Sinn Féin IRA, these bunch of murderers who have been going out to places like the United States of America and spinning the stories about what went on here in Northern Ireland. Yes, there was a lot of things went on in Northern Ireland. A lot of evil, corrupt things took place, and it's hard to believe that some of the stories that have been told in the United States have actually been believed. But whenever you look at the sincerity on Gerry Adams' face whenever he tells these stories, perhaps it's understandable why Americans and other people do believe him, because I actually think he does believe the stories himself. We now have a situation here where you can see how big a hypocrite Gerry Adams actually is, and it's unfortunate that there's very few people actually holding him to account for what he has told over this last number of years, the lies and the misleading stories that he has told, the books he's written. The things that we have been saying about the lies that's been put into books, or half-truths that have been put into books, now we're starting to see them being exposed. You just look at the one here where I'm telling the story, and he does look very sincere, and you could believe him. But the problem is, he's telling a story about how romantic it was on the prison wing, and how glorious the IRA were in their stance against the system. But the problem is, the song that they sang hadn't been written until 3 years later.
Always look on the bright side of life, from the life of Brian. I remember that being sung in prison when I was in prison, after a very, very brutal incursion into the prison wing, and the prison officers beat everybody, and the wing was deadly silent, and then from way down the wing we heard this little voice going, "Oh, look on the bright side of life." And then within 5 minutes there were about 100 men singing that at the top of their voices.
That's a fact. You only have to look at the dates. But there's other things going on here where his brother, he's saying that he didn't have contact with his brother. His brother is an IRA man, was an IRA man. And I know Gerry says he was never in the IRA, but then if you asked the McConville family, they would maybe tell you different, where their mother was kidnapped and murdered by the IRA. They might have a different view on where Gerry Adams stands. But his whole background, this here now is the truth starting to come out. This is the whole hypocrisy of the Republican movement being highlighted. Right over the years, Gerry Adams and his partners were given orders for certain paedophiles and sex offenders to be kneecapped or put out of the country, while at the same time he was protecting members of his own family. Even his father, who was a senior IRA man, he was protecting him because he wasn't put out of the country. And the other thing I have to say, he raises the issue of his father. He didn't want the tricolour carried on his coffin, that it would soil the Irish tricolour, the fact that it was on his father's coffin. What about the coffin he carried with the man that killed 3 children? Did that not soil that flag? Did that not soil that flag a lot more than what it did on his father's coffin, although his father was an evil man and a paedophile? He considers murder and maiming people as okay as long as it's in the romantic cause of United Ireland. This man was responsible for exiling a number of people in West Belfast especially, and a number of people being shot because they were accused of sex offences, and in some cases it wasn't even the case of paedophile offences. It was the case of somebody had molested an 18-year-old girl or some other man's wife, and they were shot for that or put out of the country. So talk about hypocrites. The sooner the Republican cause is looked at in the manner that it should be looked at, the better. Gerry Adams wasn't in the IRA. Gerry Adams, while they were being badly treated on the wings in the prison, how they all started to sing this romantic song. Only problem was it hadn't been writ for 3 years. It wasn't writ until 3 years later. This is the hypocrisy of the Republican movement. They use situations, they abuse situations, and nobody is not expendable. Unless you're a brother or some of the senior Republicans. This by Liam Adams, not 2 months ago, it was told about him being in Dublin running rackets for the IRA. So don't come these cock and bull stories, you don't know where he is. You do know. Because a month ago we were told where he was. We didn't know about this situation, but we knew he was in Dublin because we were contacted by people down there to say this man was running rackets and involved in criminality in Dublin for the IRA. Not for anybody else, for the IRA. So, the whole issue of Clonard Monastery, Father Reid was Gerry Adams' private spiritual advisor. So Father Reid knew all about this. Father Try knew all about this. There's a nest in there, there's a circle of people who have been deceiving and corrupting the people of West Belfast and Furtherfield, and they have worked closely together to put a spin out there that there's some romantic idea about the Republican movement, that they have fought some romantic cause. Well, that's not the reality. The reality is now starting to come out that they're full of homosexuals, they're full of paedophiles. The whole thing is rotten to the back core, and the Republican movement has been used as a cover to cover a lot of this stuff up. And Liam Adams was a member of that organisation, and so was Gerry Adams, but according to him he wasn't. The truth is now starting to come out, and I would ask people to look at it and to read it carefully and to consider what has been done and what is being said, because these people are not fighting for any romantic idea. They killed more Catholics than anybody else did, and it is time that the people wakened up to that fact, especially the Americans. The other thing, if you go back in our videos a number of weeks, you will see where we said that after Christmas we were going to expose 2 individuals. Well, unfortunately one of them has now been spoiled. Gerry and them's beat us to it. But there's another individual, not on the same line, but certainly heavily involved with the IRA, but also had another master. We have one left to expose after Christmas, but we hope to brought these 2 stories out at the one time, but anyway, it doesn't matter, it's now out in the open, so at least people know what's going on.